Actually, a must-win for Justin Herbert.
I'm kind of offended by the question, but we do this on like a call in the morning, and then I get into the office and I wanted to confirm because I'm on a train commuting during I'm like, did I hear the question correctly? And then I asked Nick, I'm like, you're good at these questions,
Obviously a must-win.
I want to cede my time to you because there's literally no argument that it's a must-win for Herbert and the Chargers.
No. Listen, it is
must-win for Herbert and the Chargers.
Yes, it definitively is. It doesn't mean it's not a must-win for the Chiefs. It definitionally is. This isn't who is it more important for, any of those things. If the Chargers don't win this game, they don't have it. They have, and they do run the very real risk of playing a. Hold on, you asked me.
They don't.
They run the very real risk by losing this game of playing in a Week 18 win and you're in, lose and your season is out game, which they have played in before, and they found a way to lose to a Raiders team. Justin Herbert prominently involved in that game, and the collapse is a possibility with a loss here. The Chiefs are hanging on for dear life, right? They are playing their worst football right now. They are as banged up on the offensive line as the Chargers are. So that is right now a fair fight piece of it. And you have an opportunity to vanquish this team and put your stranglehold on a playoff berth. If you can't win this game in this spot, then you're all of a sudden not only going to rally to make sure you do make the playoffs, but you're also going to go on some type of run? The Chargers are not supposed to be, happy to be here, C.J. Stroud first year with the Texans, who, by the way, won a playoff game, or happy to be here, C.J. Stroud second year with the Texans, who, by the way, beat the Chargers in a playoff game. They're supposed to be, in this AFC playoff field, we've got the second most decorated quarterback. We've got one of the best coaches. We have a chance to win it. And they can prove to me that they can do that by winning this game. If they lose this game, and then have Cowboys, Texans, and then potentially a must-win in Denver, I'm worried about the Chargers top to bottom. So that's why it's a must-win.
Okay. When we were starting out this OT thing very early on, obviously I've known you forever, I did this what I thought was a great take, and Brew cut me deep when he said, that's a lot of gobbledygook. That's what Nick just did. What are you talking about? The Chargers can lose out and make the playoffs.
No, not realistically.
But not realistically, but if the Chiefs lose this game, they're done.
Yeah, of course.
So, obviously, objectively, it is a must-win for the Chiefs.
Agreed.
And if the Chargers lose, they can beat the Texans.
Ooh.
Well, let me ask you.
They can beat anyone on their schedule. We just saw them beat Philly.
And we just saw them lose by 4 scores to the Jags. So we just saw, so go ahead, bro.
Well, it's certainly not a literal must-win for the Chargers, all right? But in the must-win.
Danny watches the show.
Yeah,
know
what we mean.
Danny knows how must-win works.
Let me ask you two guys this.
Let's do this.
If the Chargers lose this game to the Chiefs, but beat Dallas and then lose their next two, they'll still make. They would miss.
No, they would miss if the
Chiefs win out.
And again,
in that case,
yeah,
I'm with Nick. Because here's the thing. I think you are going Houston. Yes, you can't. I think you will beat Dallas. You can beat the Texans, but with your offensive line in shambles, that pass rush, we just saw it against the Chiefs. I think that's going to be tough for you. And same thing with Denver.
In Denver, Denver's playing for the 1 seed.
And so,
who the Chargers are.
Look, I'm not writing you off if you lose this, because obviously the Chiefs have to win out. But this is the year. First of all, your coach did say a couple years ago, we're winning multiple championships.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, guys, this is not your year. What are you talking about? This team is decimated with injuries. The O-line is decimated. This isn't their year where if they don't do it, it's like, oh man, clearly Justin Herbert and Harbaugh aren't the duo that we thought they were. That's so disingenuous and so ridiculous. It's amazing and incredible what the Chargers have been able to accomplish this season with Justin Herbert and Harbaugh right now, and the defense, everyone involved. I'm not trying to just put it on the shoulders of like a Harbaugh and Herbert, but we know that's obviously where all the attention goes. And so if they come up short, if they lose, it'll be like, what was wrong with Herbert? What was wrong with Harbaugh? And it's like, miss me with the nonsense. This O-line has obviously been decimated, and saying that it's a wash, well, like against the Eagles and against the Texans, Justin Herbert was pressured 26 times. Patrick Mahomes 21 times. So Justin Herbert was actually pressured way more. I shouldn't say way more. I didn't mean to say way more, but more. So it's not a wash here. I mean that's pretty absurd. And they both had 41 dropbacks, 42 dropbacks. So it makes it a pretty even mix. And so I don't call that an automatic wash. 5 extra pressures. Man, on one side, you could argue that that's not that much. On the other side, you can say that's actually huge, right? Like it depends. It's one of those things where it's like, well, if you're a Chargers fan, you think that was pass interference. If you're a Chiefs fan, you think that was clean. Like, so, but 5 extra pressures in a game, like, it is tough too, because when you were pressured 26 times, you're like, what's an extra 5? 21 is still a ton. So it's not like I'm pretending like Mahomes was out there being protected. But the point that I'm trying to argue is that it's been rough sledding for Justin Herbert and this O-line, okay? It's been rough. But now, to be fair, I don't think the Chiefs are this just circling the drain team. I really don't. Like, Nick Sangler playing their worst football. They're losing, but like, they didn't look terrible against the Cowboys. They didn't look terrible against the Colts. Like, they don't look terrible. They're not playing their best football, but their worst football, that's a stretch. And the Chargers really are held together right now with, the joke that I keep making because it's hilarious. And every time I say it, everyone just says, man, you're so funny. They're held together with Elmer's glue. Like, it's just the cheap glue from elementary school. Like, it's incredible what the Chargers have been able to accomplish. I mean, it really is. And so to think that you can just the Chiefs are favored in this game. And to a degree, it makes sense because the Chiefs have more firepower. They have more firepower. They have a quarterback that didn't break his hand and get surgery on it. At this point, it'll end up being a couple weeks, but still, it's still something. Like, I read an article, or I read a sentence, not an article, that Herbert said, X-rays are, it's still not broken. The X-rays are mostly good or something. Like, the way how he phrased it was like, no, it's good. It's mostly good or whatever. Mostly clean. No, nothing's broken or anything. And it just like, mostly, like, what are these X-rays showing then? Like, what do you see then? It was just interesting phrasing to me. But I mean, the dude's been getting rocked since day one, literally since day one. The reality is, and I know Nick believes this fully in his heart of all hearts, the Chiefs have more firepower. Xavier, Worthy, Rasheed, Rice, Kelsey. Again, I know they're imperfect. Everyone's not playing their best, etc., etc. But then he also went off and said that I trust Andy Reid to find a way through the offensive line issues and the game plan, etc., etc. And I don't think he feels that way about, Harbaugh, Roman, etc. So, and also the Chiefs technically have the better defense. They technically have the better defense. So the way how I look at it is, if the Chargers win this game, then I do think that's massive. I think that will be incredibly impressive. I'll make the argument, now that I'm looking at this schedule right now, all things considered, the way how this is all unfolded, the way with all the injuries, etc., etc., that will be the most impressive win of the season to me. Not necessarily the Eagles, because the Eagles are the Eagles right now, and I understand the Chiefs are the Chiefs right now. We can kind of play that game, but I would just be much more impressed on the road, Arrowhead, you have the ability to really just be like, goodbye, Kansas City. Like, see you later. Literally see you next year. See you next fall. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. Like, literally. And I'll be really impressed if they find a way to win that game. You could really make the argument that the Chargers should have lost to the Eagles. And again, I celebrated that win. It was absolutely amazing. It was incredible to watch. Justin Herbert, the toughness, the grittiness. But I will say, like, firmly, it's like it was an overtime field goal, and you had 5 turnovers on the Philadelphia Eagles. You had 5 turnovers. That is a ton. Realistically, 4, which is a ton, and you still need it. And a missed field goal by the Eagles, and you still needed overtime. And the Eagles were about to win that game. If they were just a little bit smarter, there's a great argument to say they're going to win this game, or at the very least tie it, right? At the very least, tie it. And that takes nothing away from the Chargers at all. Multiple things can be true. But a win against the Kansas City Chiefs, I would be significantly impressed with. I do think the Cowboys is a losable game. I do think the Texans is a losable game. The Broncos are going to be the most interesting because will the Broncos be playing for the 1 seed in a first round bye? Or no, not a single starter is playing that game. Right? Like that, both scenarios are very realistic. I think all things considered, when your quarterback is getting pressured and hit 100 times a game, and your quarterback has a broken hand and got surgery a couple weeks ago, every game is losable. Every single game is losable. It's on the table to lose any game you play. So Danny's kind of like, well, we beat the Broncos before. We can beat the Texans and the Cowboys. And it's like, I'm not saying that you should doubt them. I'm just saying you got to be careful with the confidence. You can have the belief in the Chargers and all of that, but it's just like when you're getting hit that many times and your quarterback is genuinely banged up, and the things that quarterback needed to do just to get by the Eagles, despite the defense getting all those turnovers and the Eagles' inability to just execute with any degree of consistency, I'm not going to imagine that you'll get similar games from the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the starting Broncos roster, if it is indeed the starting Broncos roster. So that's just kind of where I'm looking at it. This whole nonsense that like this is the Chargers year, and it's like, are we serious right now, man? Yes, if they were full strength, and that's what I said a couple weeks ago, where I was just like, man, Chargers, if you guys were just healthy, this would be your year. Then I would agree. But it's like they got running backs dropping like flies, they got O-line dropping like flies, like, you know, like it's just not fair to do that. It's remarkable that they've been able to win and do it in a way that the Chiefs simply have been unable to do. And so it's like that's impressive enough if you're saying Andy and Mahomes and Spags and et cetera, like it's just not like, well, you got to win a Super Bowl this year. It's like that's such nonsense. That is such absolute utter nonsense and makes no sense. And so I hate that they keep putting that out there like that. They keep framing the discussion like that. Nick did this last season when the Chargers were clearly a brand new team. Harbaugh comes in there. He's trying to like rework everything, rework the defense, rework the offense, right? Like he's got to rebuild everything, draft alignment. Like there's things that they got to do. And Nick's like, there's no excuses for Harbaugh for Herbert not to win this year. He's got everything he could ask for. And I'm just like, that's ridiculous. Like that's absurd. And Herbert was banged up the whole season as well. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I hate that. I hate those narratives that it's just you're setting them up to fail, and it's unfair. It's unfair. You're painting the picture like the Chargers have been in, that Herbert has been in the position of like the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen or something, and you're just like, come on, man. We've been giving you stuff for years. We've been giving you enough, relatively speaking, because I don't think the Bills have given enough to Josh Allen, but enough for years. Now you got an upgrade. You finally, right, like, you upgraded that coach. We got rid of Sean McDermott, and we brought you Harbaugh, right? Like, your defense hasn't been good, and now we gave you a great defense, right? Like, we've given you those things. Now it's up to you. It's like, that's not the situation. Herbert's keeping this thing afloat, and the vast majority of quarterbacks and coaches, this would have just completely plummeted. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid themselves are struggling to keep this thing afloat. So if you're going to tell me if Nick's going to have the belief that the Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid are the greatest thing in the history of the universe, you're asking the Chargers to be able to accomplish something that the Chiefs haven't done. And I'm not going to go on that whole long rant like I've done in the past with that specific take, but it's just like, it just doesn't make sense. It's unfair. And so that always irks me. But when we do look at the standings, can they lose out and still make the playoffs? Probably not. I mean, it's possible, but probably not. You do have a tiebreaker with the Steelers. So if the Steelers now fall, if you're fighting for that final spot, because then really realistically, I guess the Steelers would have to keep losing. If they fall down, because if you're at that 7th spot, you have to imagine that the Texans would win now, right? They'd beat you, so you lose out. So now the Texans would leapfrog you. The Bills are not going to lose out, so they're going to leave. So like everyone else is going to be getting at least 10 wins or 9 wins, and then they'll have the tiebreaker. So that's why I jumped to the Steelers, where I'm like, okay, if you're competing for the 7th spot, and it comes between, I guess you and the Steelers, that's the best case scenario there then. So it seems kind of like a silly thing to even try to figure out. And then I've done this so many times, but then I guess if you then end up in a tie-breaking scenario with the Chiefs, which I guess, again, in this possibility everyone's trying to make up right now, it would be possible. The head-to-head would be a wash, and then the best one-loss tied percentage in games played within the conference. And again, I guess then the Chargers would be locked in at 7-2. Or no, excuse me, because then they would be losing. They would lose to the Chiefs 7-3. They'd lose to the Texans, so that'd be 7-4. The Broncos 7-5. So right, and then the Chiefs. If the Chiefs win out, that's 4 games. Are all 4 of their games against? All 4 of their games are they against conference? Yes. So then that would be a wash. Now it's best one-loss tied percentage in common games, minimum of 4. I think I'm doing this all right. These tie-breaking scenarios make my head spin. Common games, minimum of 4. Then things get a little weird, because then you both split with the Broncos at that point under this scenario. So that's 2 games now each. So then you just need another 2. You both played the Eagles. The Chiefs lost to the Eagles. The Chargers beat the Eagles. You would have both played the Cowboys. And you then, in this scenario, you would have both lost to the Cowboys. You both swept the Raiders. The Chargers lost to the Giants. And the Chiefs beat the Giants. And you lost to the Commanders, and the Chiefs beat the Commanders. So then that's where you would lose a tiebreaker. And you lost to the Colts. So you get owned in that tiebreaker then at that point. So yeah, in a nutshell, losing out is not the way to go. I think Danny's he's saying that with his chest out a little too strongly, quite frankly. Like, don't know about that. I mean, we see what the Texans are doing to teams right now defensively. That's going to be a hard one. But it does seem, right, as long as you just get this one win, if the Chiefs win out and the Chargers just get one win, I think that still then does it, though. At least for it should at least do it, I guess, because then the only person that can really, I guess, unless the Colts kind of keep winning, but that's really hard to see. So you are looking at one of these 6 and 7 teams trying to catch you. They win 4 games. Yeah, I guess that kind of still continues to potentially put them in a similar situation there. Because especially if the Chiefs win out and the Chargers lose out, then the Chiefs will have those 10 wins, and so then you wouldn't apply those tiebreakers. So the Chargers would still have to at least win that one game. So I guess the number for them is really 2 games to really feel extra confident about it. I don't know. Trying to figure this all out is a labor, man. The most winnable games that I see up there are the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos, specifically because there's a great chance the Broncos don't care about that game. Even if they lose home field advantage and it's just the Patriots, their 2 seed will most likely be locked in place. Maybe they play Bo and that offense and that team for the first quarter or something. I don't know. I don't really know how Sean Payton has handled that in the past or what, various coaches have done in terms of that. It's not that, most coaches usually sit everyone out there, but I don't know if you're a younger team, there's kind of the argument of kind of keeping them in rhythm, but you certainly don't want to risk injury. So who really knows? But I think there's a great chance that you're really not playing a full strength Denver Broncos team in that final game. So it's really kind of just like win one out of those next 3 games. What's your best chance at that? But the Chargers are part of the conversation right now, and it's a real conversation, which is just pretty cool. It's kind of funny if you're a Chargers fan, and I'll end here. You want to beat the Chiefs, because obviously then it's just like see you bye. It's done. But also you don't want the Chiefs to lose out. Like you don't want the Dolphins to leapfrog them. Like you want the Chiefs to win enough games where they're not draft. Like you don't want the Dolphins to leapfrog them, the Bengals to leapfrog them, the Ravens. Like because then they get better draft order. So you do want them to win and just come up short of the playoffs. You don't want them to sink below all these other teams, because then they'll be drafting. You go on one side, you can be like, "Wow, you are a bottom 5 team," or they can't. I don't think they can't be bottom 5, but like they would be clearly, a bottom team. But like you do want them to just miss the playoffs, to get like 9 wins, ideally like 10 wins or something, but it's still not enough. And then all these other teams still draft at them, because if you give the Kansas City Chiefs high draft picks in every round, first round, second round, third round, fourth round, I mean, like they'll be able to do damage with that pretty quickly. So in a weird way, you probably want to beat the Chiefs and then have them win every other game from that point forward, and have the Dolphins lose, the Bengals lose. No one's catching up with the Jets and the Cleveland Browns and those other teams. And you want to see the Dallas continue to lose, Minnesota to continue to lose, Atlanta to continue to lose. Like you do that, then they're kind of stuck in this no man's land where they're like they're not high enough, and not a lot to work with there. Miss a lot of the truly great special players, and then you can kind of put yourself potentially in a head start position here for these next couple of years, and really be able to build off that momentum. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers? Do you think this is a must-win for Herbert and the Chargers? What do you think the expectation should be for this team and what they should be able to achieve? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.